What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of How to Get Away with Staffing. My name is Colin LeBeau, president here at FoxHire, an employer of record platform in the US. And I've got Brad Bialy, the director of digital marketing from Haley Marketing. What's going on, man?
Great to see you again, Colin. How you been, buddy?
Good. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Things are good over here. I haven't ran into you at a conference lately. It's been a little bit, but
A little bit.
I shut down. I shut down some travel over here. My wife and we had our second baby, so I stopped traveling and speaking as of probably like May of this year, just to kind of be closer to home. And
Totally get it.
hopefully we see you on the road soon. Though, are you going to Naps this year?
Not weren't able to make naps.
Okay.
Sad about that. But yeah, we were
Yeah.
back to back with a couple other conferences that overlapped. So just weren't able to swing that one. But yeah, I get it. We're totally
Yeah.
same place over here in dad mode. So totally
Yeah.
respect the decision you made there. But yeah, we'll see you out there on the road soon, hopefully.
I call it the traveling circus, man. From a vendor standpoint, there's a bunch of us. You kind of start to see everyone on the same circuit, right? So it's like you pop up in a different city, and it's always nice though because there's familiarity amongst the vendor faces at least, and clients of course, and people that you've met along the way. But it's nice when you show up in a random city and you're like, I don't know anything about wherever I am right now, but at least
Yeah,
you see somebody like yourself, and can get lunch or get breakfast, and it makes it a little bit more comforting.
for sure. 100%. Yeah, the traveling roadshow, those that are
Yeah,
a part of it
yeah, yeah,
understand it.
yeah.
It's cool, man. Yeah, I like that too. So hopefully we'll be out there again soon. Interesting for both of us. I mean, we both entered the staffing space, but we're not really recruiters or
Yeah.
staffing professionals necessarily. So one of my favorite questions is always asking, like, tell me how you got here. How did you get into the
Yeah.
staffing space?
So Haley Marketing, I've been here now almost 11 years. Um, I started when I was still in college. So I was going to school out in Brockport, which is just outside of Buffalo, about an hour away. I was living with a couple roommates at the time, and what happened was a friend, yeah. Hang on, let me make sure. Yeah, a friend of a friend was working at Haley at the time. They were hiring a social media advisor. She reached out to him. He reached out to me because he knew that I was passionate about social. I was doing a ton of, I was our student government marketing director. I was president of the marketing club for 2 years. I was super active in marketing in college and had great internships with the Sabres and doing some other things over here. So he reached out to me, said, "Hey, are you interested?" Interviewed. Did something right to impress Brad Smith and the hiring crew at the time. And I've been here ever since. So what
Nice.
happened is I was still living about an hour away from the office, and I was commuting into the office on Fridays and Mondays. So I was working two
Nice.
days a week for my final semester at Brockport. When I graduated, I actually don't know if I was brought on as like a part-time employee or if I was brought on. I don't remember. I'll have to talk to Brad if I was brought on in the sense of when you're done, you're going to start 5 days, or if I had to actually earn that. I'm sure he'll tell you I had to earn it. But as soon as I graduated, the next week I was working 5 days a week, which was cool. It was almost like an internship. I got comfortable with the role. I got comfortable with the team, got comfortable with what we do. And then once I
Yeah.
graduated, I just hit the ground running.
Boom.
Fast forward 11 years later, I'm still here,
Yeah.
still a part of the team and still having a lot of fun.
You ended up liking it, right? That's awesome, man.
I
Good
did.
stuff.
It's a
I,
fun
I
space to be in.
it is a fun space to be in. I really enjoy working with salespeople and
Hmm.
recruiting and staffing professionals. We're sort of all in that same
Yeah,
kinship where we understand the plights and the exciting parts of sales. And the approach that we take with each other, I think, is respectful and understood amongst all of us. So I do enjoy
yeah,
working with salespeople for sure. But most people don't ever enter the space thinking like, oh man, I want to be a recruiter so bad. Like that's never
right,
anybody's thought when they go to college, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna be a
right,
recruiter, you know?
right. I mean, I never even had thought about using a staffing firm or using a temp agency or whatever in my own career. So
Yeah,
when I started at Haley and I actually found out who it is that we help and who we serve, there was a huge learning curve, and there is still a huge learning curve for me. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about staffing, even after 11 years. I have calls every day. I'm
sure.
fortunate enough to get on the phone with clients every single day and keep my ears low to the ground as possible. But it's interesting how much I learned just in those conversations. So, ton of fun to be a part of.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I spoke with our president or our CEO, Mike
Mhm.
Capel, about why did he start these businesses? Because he started, Top Echelon and
Yeah.
what is now Foxhire back in the day, and he had an interesting story about like what made him passionate about the recruiting space. And his main message was like, when I started Fox Hire, which is, at the time top echelon, actually,
Mhm.
no, it was Nationwide Interchange Service or something like that. But anyways, he's like, the first goal is to be rich. And I was like, okay, thanks
Of
for your
course.
honesty. Right.
Yeah.
But then he's like, but then I started talking to these recruiting and staffing professionals and learning their challenges. And when the market's going bad, he described it like they'd have their hands on the cliff and one finger would fall off. They're trying to hold on. And
Yeah.
TE and what's now Foxfire is like sort of able to help them, survive those tougher times. And that made him really passionate about those people. And he would just talk about having cauliflower ear, because back then he had the phone up to his ear so often, right,
Yeah.
talking to all these
Yeah.
people. So I guess same question to you, like, what keeps you passionate about the space? Like, what about recruiting and staffing professionals do you enjoy working with them for?
I have the opportunity every day to come up with new ideas and new and exciting ways to help staffing owners, staffing firms, recruiting firms grow their businesses. And why I'm still here is and this is interesting, Colin. I was just talking to my wife about purpose the other day. So it's super interesting and incredibly timing.
Nice.
I believe I'm fundamentally here to help people, right? And I don't have all the answers. There are tons of marketers in the world. You can subscribe to anybody's methodology and treat it as true and follow them. I'm just a guy with ideas. Yes, I have some experience. I've done it for 11 years. I know what works, what doesn't. At least I think I do. And you start to build that. But why I'm still here is I have fun with it. And everyone at Haley knows the second I stop having fun with it, I'll be out. And that's okay to admit. And I think everybody knows that, right? If
Yeah.
I'm not bringing you the best marketing ideas and my brain is not so into this space, then I shouldn't be here, right? You don't want me here anyways. And I wake up every day fired up because um I know on the calls I have today, there are real owners and real recruiters and real sales reps who are struggling right now. The industry is down as a whole. There are people whose livelihood depends on getting orders and putting great people to work in great opportunity. And the fact that I'm the person that they're trying to call and have a conversation with to say, listen, Brad, what can we do to turn this around? I take a lot of pride in that. So every strategy that I get to put together, I treat it as if it's my own, as if this were my livelihood, if this were my business, because we need to treat it that way. So yeah, man, I keep showing up because of that exactly. I believe I'm here to help. I like to help. I like to talk to people. Um, I want to see the industry grow.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, agreed. I think what stands out to me is helping people. I think
Yeah.
everybody would love to think like, I'm helping people, whatever job you're doing, right? It doesn't matter, right? I'm helping people. But I think within this specific space and the direct contact we have with recruiting and staffing professionals that do run their own businesses, or,
Mhm.
typically are small, mid-sized organizations compared to, huge companies, right? You
Mhm.
can see the direct impact you're making. Like, it's very clear, like, we did
Yeah.
X, that resulted in Y. And they're very
100%.
thankful for those types of things when those things go right. So totally resonates with me. And I think I feel similarly about that. Um, you said the staffing market's down. So talk to me
Yeah.
about that. What are you seeing out there right now?
Incredibly hard to close orders right now. Incredibly hard to find job orders. Incredibly hard just to even get decision makers on the phone to talk about staffing services. Every call that I'm a part of, albeit maybe a handful in the last, let's call it 5 to 6 months, are Brad, what do we do to get more business? And friends, I wish I had the silver bullet. I wish I could tell you do this and it'll work. I don't. Honestly, the best staffing and recruiting firms right now are deploying full sales and marketing systems. There is no one way out of this. It is a full holistic strategy and a full holistic approach. And the companies that are doing that, are on the other side of it already. But that's exactly what I'm saying. It's incredibly hard to not only get the order, but get the conversation that would lead to an order.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember my first job out of college was selling job orders, and it was like 2013.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember that was still even after the whole '08 stuff went down. Like, even
Sure.
then, so like 5 years later, it was like the market was still not good. And you'd call them like, if people aren't hiring, how are you going to sell a job posting, or, be sell your recruiting services, right? And so,
Yeah.
to your point, I think having that level of rigor through the good times and the bad times. Like I would
Yeah.
assume that the firms where they were doing these systems you're talking about were already doing that during the good times, right?
Honestly, some are, but some weren't.
Okay.
I am talking to people every single day who are still figuring out what an integrated marketing and sales system looks like, where sales and marketing are not just two entities existing, but are actually unified and married together. Um, Perfect example. I'm working with a client. I just sent over a great strategy at time of recording yesterday. They're following a 10-step sales process, right?
Okay.
They believe in this process. A sales consultant in the industry that they're partnering with presented this 10-step process. They're following it as gospel. Great. I support it. I'm all in. The challenge with that is it's now taking anywhere from 17 to 20 plus touches for a prospect to even know you exist. So the best sales system that's only using 10 steps is not getting to the threshold where a prospect even knows who you are. That's where marketing comes in. So if I can have a 10-step sales process and now you have a marketing system that is overlaying pay-per-click advertising, is overlaying marketing automation, is overlaying email or social ads or other marketing tactics, I'm now getting your 10 touches to 25 plus. And now you have a fighting chance to have that conversation because at that point, the prospect knows who you are. We're giving up too early, even with the best sales systems. So the best conversations that I've been a part of are the individuals who want to entertain that conversation. And it's not, hey, I know I need to be on social because my competitor's on social, or I know I need to have an email newsletter because somebody that I follow and respect has an email newsletter. It's Brad, we're not getting the orders. We have the system in place. How can marketing overlay that system to give us more success and give us a better fighting chance to have the conversation to lead to the order?
Yeah. No, I think that I've heard variations of that stat, like how many touches it
Yeah.
takes for somebody to respond to you, right? And it's
What's
all
your number? What number do you think it is? Or
I
have you
wanted to
heard?
say it was like the first number you said 17 was the number
Yeah.
that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
20, I mean, makes sense. I mean, it probably takes more. Um,
I've also heard that 90% of sales reps give up after the fourth attempt. So
oh, 100%.
when you're prospecting,
Earlier, like
right,
two steps, or so.
right. So we're wondering why we can't close orders, but we're only calling somebody twice. And we're not even talking to them. We're just
Voicemail
calling
99% of the time.
and that's getting deleted.
Yeah.
And then we're wondering why business isn't growing or why we're not getting the order because you're not putting in the work to get to the point where they want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because not, yeah, exactly. You call somebody, it's a number that they don't recognize,
Right.
the rep leaves a voicemail, which is maybe a voicemail drop, which is just some automated voicemail, right? Um, it just doesn't do what you need it to do.
Yeah. My light just shut off midstream here. It's okay.
You're good.
Yeah,
An
it's all
ominous
right.
Brad. An ominous Brad is
Yeah.
his goodness.
Let's get serious now, Colin. Let's get
Talk about
serious
the
now.
market going down, the lights go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that's the number that I remember. And I guess my question is like, when do these agencies get to that point where they realize that marketing needs to be added to just, pounding the pavement, old school sales calls?
It takes the courage to change. And it takes the courage to say, listen, what got us here won't necessarily get us there. And I think that is the underlying concept and underlying theme. There are a lot of great business owners that I would never try to undermine who had great success getting this far,
For
but it's
sure.
the ones who are saying, listen, what if we made these small tweaks to get us to the next stage that have the courage to do that, that are getting to the next stage in the process? It is not the same sales environment as it was a year ago, let alone 10, 20 years ago. There are a lot of great owners, again, who I respect and look up to, who got this far knocking on doors,
Doing
making
their
phone
thing.
calls, stopping by with donuts, right? Doing the things.
Yeah.
Friends, there are other ways, though, to support that. And there are businesses that are growing as a direct result of the other activities that you could be deploying.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think there's more things to be done now. It's a different environment now. And to your point, that was what I was going to ask about. Like I feel like the last 24 months have been just like
Mhm.
absolutely just everything has changed. Even going back to COVID, that was a big change, right? But like the last 24 months specifically, nothing's the same as it was 24 months ago. So,
Mhm.
what is maybe the top one or two things that you feel like has changed in the marketing world that you're trying to help clients understand?
No one wants to be sold to. So let's start there. Whether you're buying a t shirt, you're buying staffing services, you're buying a house, You're buying a new car. No one wants to be sold to. We want to do our own research. We want to come to our own conclusions, and we want to buy the thing that we want to buy. Now, we as humans are very easily influenced and influenceable
Yeah,
if we have the right people that get in front of us. And that's where I think marketing comes into play. It's not telling somebody to buy now or act now or call us now. It's about doing what we know works in this industry and building relationships with people. Colin, you made a great point earlier. You know, when somebody isn't hiring and you're trying to sell an order, what do? You become their friend, right?
exactly.
You
Yeah,
get to know them so that when they are hiring, they know to call you instead of Brad. And the challenge there is when you're strapped for business and your livelihood depends on sales commissions, you're immediately jumping to action. You're immediately jumping to, I need the order now. And we're missing out on the steps. You know, if you think about, we call it the ADAM model. It's awareness, interest, desire, and action. It's really the 4-step process of getting somebody to take action in anything that you do. The industry operates upside down. We operate with needing action now. I need an order now.
yep,
Actually, just had a call with a client the other day who said, listen, the only thing we need to do for marketing is to get people to reach out and say, I want to talk to you about your services. And I had to very clearly say, listen, that's not going to work, right? It takes a lot of time to build the loyalty with a potential client for them to do
for
that.
sure.
So we need awareness, we need interest, we need desire and action. So to your point, what's changed? uh, Everything, right? It's thinking about how can we become more holistic in everything that we're doing, be more strategic in what we're doing.
Yep. No, I think I totally agree with that. I think that's why a lot of people are focusing on content. I think that's important, but
Mhm.
brings me back to another story.
Yeah.
So my wife's grandfather ran a copier sales company, and it's pretty
Hmm.
big actually. And
Hmm.
well, not back then, but it's become big. And basically, his main line was, all things being equal, friends will buy from friends. But all things
100%.
not being equal, friends will still buy from friends. And that's what you're talking about.
100%.
Become their friend. Um, it's trust based, it's relationship based. That's the biggest thing I've learned from this industry is it's relationship based. Came from a world where I was selling to like IT leaders, CIOs, and people like that. Not really into the relationships, super dry people, like just want to know the specs and stuff like that. But in the staffing and recruiting space, it's very much relationship based. And that's a key thing for, I think, everybody
100%.
to know.
And that's tough when there's so much turnover in internal organizations and there's turnover among sales reps and there's turnover in the industry, right? A
Yeah.
sales rep can sell any sort of widget. They can sell staffing services or they can go sell basketballs. If you're good at sales, you learn the sales system, you learn the process, you can go sell.
Yep.
And in a situation right now where the industry is down and no one is buying staffing services at an alarming rate, sales commissions are down, your check is down. You think, well, heck, I can sell anything. I'll go sell picture frames, whatever it
Something
is.
else.
So
Yep.
when there's that kind of turnover, it's tough to build loyalty with your customers, but we need to 100%. And I couldn't agree more.
Yep. Absolutely. And I even see that across, buying organizations. There's people that are in charge of different solutions, right? Like
Yeah.
hiring full-time employees might be different than hiring temporary and contract workers.
Hmm.
So do you see any differences with marketing those two services that you would highlight?
I think it just comes down to messaging and whoever you're trying to target has pain points, has needs, has challenges. The best marketing lasers in on that individual. Who is Colin? What keeps him up at night? What are his pain points from his day to day? And more importantly, than the value I can provide as it relates to those pain points. Who is Brad? What are his challenges day to day? What are his pain points? What's keeping him up at night? What is the messaging and value proposition that I can present to Brad to make sure that he knows about my staffing services and my needs? We we have a funny way as an industry of just deploying marketing. And I'm not saying that just at Haley Marketing, but I've had 11 years of observing the industry, our clients. I talk to a lot of people at conferences. I've had a good amount of time to observe marketing for staffing and recruiting firms. We sort of operate in just sort of a let's do marketing. We'll we have very generic messaging. We're trying to reach all people. We don't want to be super laser focused because we don't want to give up on that one potential order we can get over here. So we say, well, we do kind of all things and we're all things to all
Yeah.
people. And the challenge with that is when you're all things to all people, you're absolutely nothing to anybody. You need to have that niche. You need to have that laser focus so that somebody knows if I have an issue, I know to call you to fix it. right? And if you have a heart condition, you're not going to go to some general practice doctor. You want to go to the best person who fixes
Specialist.
hearts, right? You want to go to a specialist.
Yeah.
Fixes hearts is probably the wrong way to say that, but you go to a
It's
specialist
actually a
who
cardiologist, but yeah.
thank you, sir. Exactly right. So we need to have that sort of methodology, and that's where you're talking about, direct hire, contract, whoever it is. You need to be laser focused in your messaging and knowing who your target audience is and how you can serve them.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think of that generic message. I see a lot, it's like, need top talent, we're your partners. Like that's as far as we
Right.
go. That's
What
it,
do you, what do you place? Nurses or welders? Right?
Nobody knows.
No one knows, so they don't work with you, right? If I come to your website and I can't see myself in the messaging or the imagery on your website, I'm leaving and I'm finding a place where I feel like I'm at home. And Colin, to your exact point, where it's, we help top talent find a job in Buffalo, New York. Am I top talent? What kind of talent? What kind of role?
Kind of
And
jobs. Yeah.
and then you have that generic image where it's, a guy in a hard hat shaking hands with another person in a suit, shaking hands with a woman who is sort of casually dressed because she works from home. And it's, well, we do everything. And at that point, you dilute who you can actually serve because you're trying to be all things to all people.
Totally. Yeah, I think we call it speaking their language, right? Like we want
Yeah.
to be able to speak the language of the buyers that we're serving. They use
Mm-hmm.
certain terms, they struggle with specific things, they have particular pain points, all of those types of things, right? And if you're not speaking their language, they're not going to, go back to our first point, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to think that
Right.
you can actually help them.
Right.
So when you're thinking about that in comparison to how you sell direct hire versus how you sell contract staffing, we talk a lot about how you might want to market contracting because that's what we support.
Yeah.
And the pain points are different, right? Full-time hires typically are made by HR hiring managers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Contingent temporary hires are not. A lot of times they're made by procurement or sourcing or specific like contingent workforce programs, or there's a third party, an
Right.
MSP involved. Like there's so many
Right.
different buyers that you're trying
Right.
to communicate with. And that's where the differences are for those direct hire recruiters that are trying to sell contracting.
Yep.
It's just a different world. So,
It is.
so what do you think is the number one thing you're currently helping your customers with then on the marketing side? Is it that messaging piece or is it something else?
It's understanding goal. It's understanding what it is that they're trying to accomplish and we're trying to accomplish in unison. And then it's messaging. And it's coming up with the strategy that is going to help get them there. The best clients that I'm working with have a system and have a strategy in place that works alongside their sales efforts, that works alongside their recruiting efforts. They're not just doing marketing stuff, it's all married together. And yeah, I'll say the best things that I'm doing for our clients right now is having good, honest conversations. Some are difficult to have because you're pushing people to think differently and think outside the box and come up with an answer, but it's working and it's coming up with that strategy. It's coming up with the goals and then ultimately putting down the tactics that get us there.
I love that. And you guys recently brought in recruiters' websites. How has
Yeah.
that played into your services? Like, what does that allow you guys to do now that's a little bit different than before?
Yeah, so they're a sister company of ours. They still operate as their own entity. We are now starting to cross over team members and help assist
Cool.
their team. They're helping assist our team. Honestly, it's a win-win for all.
Yeah.
We just had our summer summit a couple months ago at time of recording, so we got to sit down with their whole team, and I got personally the chance to meet everyone on their team. They're all incredibly bright. It's exciting to work for our organization, bring them in. We have a team of, collectively all of us, probably 80 plus marketers who eat, sleep, and breathe marketing for staffing and recruiting. So if you have a challenge or you're hitting a roadblock or you just writer's block, you don't know where to go with the strategy, a client presents a challenge and you're just not feeling it, and you don't know where to go. There is for sure somebody on our team who's gone through it before who can help and coach. And with them, it's just adding more people to the bench where we have a bigger roster now of people who can help us out, and they're incredibly talented with what they do. Great group over there.
Yeah. No, yeah, the part of the road show, right, that we talked about at the beginning, those guys have always been
That's
out there.
it.
Good to
Yeah.
connect with them. So I
Yeah.
thought that was a great fit for you guys, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will rock with those guys. So
Yeah.
exciting stuff. But hey, I appreciate your time. If you are a staffing or recruiting professional looking for some marketing support, Brad's a great person to reach out to.
Appreciate that.
I would highly recommend that. If this was valuable, definitely subscribe. We hope to see you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, man.